What's up everyone, Robett Hollis here. Welcome to the Powermoves series. I've been very excited about this. I basically decided we should interview fun, cool, smart people that know more about life than I do. So today we're doing a little range to range and we're catching up with my buddy Dion Nash from Triumph and Disaster. Let's check it out. What's up bro? Hey man. Good to see you bro.
Mate, the future is fucking so exciting and so uncertain, you know, like everyone's making the rules up as they go along, which is just exciting, but it means, you know what, you can't sit back and wait for stuff, you just got to build it and fix it, fix it as it happens, eh?
Break shit quickly.
Yeah, it's like, that content is just engagement. It comes back to content, and content comes back to getting busy. Get myself.
You know what's probably going to happen? People are going to see this and be like, dude, Robett can't even afford a flipping bag. I need to... Dude, you can hit, man. It is 250. Holy shit, it's out.
Yeah,
you hit the fence.
Hit the back fence.
Shut up, man. Fuck.
What I recall fear.
Yeah.
I remember being like, when I left cricket, I was like excited because I was over cricket and I needed to change and I was bored with it and I needed to be stimulated, but I was scared shitless because I didn't know anything, you know, and I just thought shit. And then with not knowing comes that fear of failure, because it's like, man, what if I go into a business and I fail and lose all my money, or what if I go into a job and I'm useless at it and people laugh at me because I don't know the language, you know. So I remember that, and then I remember the same thing when I left the corporate world where I well paid and traveling the world. I remember leaving that to set up my own business with no backstops and no training wheels fully off.
It's hustle 101.
And I just remember being so scared of like, man, what am I doing again? I'm walking away from this fat cat salary to go and earn nothing and spend money setting up something. And I remember, but that fear is double-edged because it's also the excitement and the challenge, you know. And I think that's what sportsmen, I think, and I think that's what intuitively drives us, is like, if you don't have a decent amount of fear in the stomach of what I feel like you're not fully alive, you know. And I think that's the thing, eh? And I think I watch you and I can't even keep up with what you're doing. It's like, it doesn't seem like there's any fear there, does it?
No, but I've said this to someone as well, like when you're in, say, action sports world or whatever, if you're in sport, like there's real physical risk on your body that you're so in tune to, and in business that's actually not there.
Yeah.
So like, because I remember like I was reading like 50 Cent's book a while ago and he was saying like I got shot 9 times, like literally I have no fear on anything because it's not a bullet. And then in snowboarding was like, I think at the time I was reading it, like, you know, if you go for a jump and you come off short, you blow your ACL and like there's physical problems. But then in business, it's actually not. Like, what's the worst that happens? Sweet, company shuts down and you bankrupt and you wake up broke like everyone else. It's like, who really gives a shit? You know what I mean? So it's not like you gotta get hit in the head at 100k an hour. You're not gonna like.
You got to remind yourself of that every day, though, eh? That isn't that bad.
But perspective, though, right?
Yeah, and it's different now. Like now that I've got a proper business, like, you know, things that worry me now are like, you know, not being able to extend my staff, you know, not being able to grow the business big enough so that they can grow within it, you know. So things more. There's always something that was causing you to have a sleepless night. Yeah. Thanks for bringing all this up, by the way.
So now, Triumph and Disaster, you've been going how many years now?
We've done 4 full years, but so it's founded in 2011.
What's the biggest challenge been going from idea, small startup, you and an idea to like now with all this like obviously you're in kind of, I guess, growth mode. Like what's the current biggest challenges that you've got going on with your business?
International business is hard from New Zealand. Like you just got to be traveling. You got to be there.
Time zones.
So time zones and travel. You You can't do it without being up there at least twice a year minimum, and that's a minimum. Ideally, and if you've got staff, you've got to, you got to be there every 6 weeks for staff minimum. So it's just so much travel, and that's hard because it's hard on you physically, but it's also hard financially, and so it's funding the growth and just keeping that whole culture excited.
Yeah.
And by the way, who got the longest drive? Resentment is like swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die.
That's a good one.
Thought it was gold. Because
Do you have lots of resentment?
Well, no, I feel like one of the toughest things to deal with, because you're a competitive person, right?
Ridiculously competitive.
See, I'm very competitive, and it's hard being competitive because there's a bit of guilt comes with competitiveness.
Yes.
Like you just are you being too competitive? Are you pushing too hard? And then there's also there is also jealousies with competitiveness, which doesn't make any sense because it's like someone you don't even know on an unrelated business area or someone that, and it's like, why are you getting wound up or having any emotion? And people will also, that might sound weird, and it might sound like, there's no, what's he on about? But I think everyone has that. I think everyone pegs themselves, on against people, and I think that's part motivation, part sort of
Well, it's a fine line between motivation stoke and hate negativity, right?
Yeah. And there's always people that you come across with, like being in business. There's someone, you have deals or you come across people and they might shaft you or they just say no or it just doesn't work out, whatever. And, or you fail, and you feel like they helped cause that failure or whatever. There's all these little things that happen all the time, and we come across them and they'll happen in the future, they've happened in the past, and so holding on to it is really the key, is pointless. You've got to learn from it. Yeah. But holding on to any form of resentment, it's a totally wasted form of emotion, and it's important to remind, and as a competitive person, I'm always looking for reminders of things like that. Because you've got to lighten the load somehow, because otherwise you're constantly going to
just build, yeah.
And it's important. And so learning how to lighten my own load mentally, I think is a really important growth area for me.
Have you seen many young, what gets you stoked in business? Is it seeing the big dogs that's done it, that they've kind of ticked the box, or is it kind of like the young guns that don't give a shit and just ascending it? Is there, you know what I mean? In sport, there's always the people you're kind of stoked on, or even internally, what's your...
That's a really good question. Young Kiwi guys taking it to the world doesn't get any better, I reckon. And I feel like I'm tagging in on the end of that. I'm not so young anymore, but I feel like that's my attitude internally, and I love seeing that. And so that's what stokes me out, I think, and a fairly healthy dose of New Zealand, making New Zealand proud. I feel like there's so much we can do as a country, and we should be known for. Why should it, dudes who are doing wicked design, wicked sort of mark brand stuff that, and evolving the front edge of it, and that's what I think really, because I always look at Italy and they can do Ferraris and all their fashion labels and great shoes and sunglasses, and I always think that's a small country in the middle of Europe. Why can't we be that and that sort of thing in the South Pacific, high end,
at a high level,
high end design, boutique brands and boutique marketers. And
do you think in the past it's because Kiwis have just thunk local? You know what I mean?
Yeah, tyranny of distance is definitely.
What do you call it?
Tyranny of distance. You're miles away from anywhere.
Yeah.
And so, sort of close enough has been good enough a lot of the time too. And I think there's a bit of that number 8 wire mentality, which is in all of our DNA, which is awesome. But it's also a bit of a trap because, you know, you sort of, it limits you to a little. So it's sort of finding that, but I think where Kiwis are really good is we think global because we're forced to, so we think, you know, from a really global outlook, which I think gives us real strength when we do travel.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I just think that the online and the digital world has played into our hands in New Zealand a little bit.
Yep.
And into boutique brands. You know, we can, you know, look at a brand like I Love Ugly, or you know, so many of these people who are out there sort of doing it, and they're just already international almost before they're even brands in New Zealand. I do believe that we have a creative sort of bent, you know,
yes.
like as Kiwis. We're definitely on the more creative side as a generalisation of our sort of brightest and fairest, and I think that's a great thing, because I think the future of online, I think the future of business is creativity, and you know, like all of the companies that I admire who are doing well internationally, you know, that they are sort of fresh and new, and I think that's what people love overseas, is it's, hey, these young little country in the South Pacific that hardly anyone knows where it is, and yet they're doing all this awesome creative stuff, you know.
Yeah. All right.
Mate, that's
All right.
like,
Big dog.
stay cool.